He then forcibly opens her mouth and thrusts his tongue inside. The story kicks off with this incredibly dark and mysterious atmosphere. Picture this: a darkened room, a woman is chained up, and she's screaming in agony because she's giving birth. After what must have felt like an eternity, she finally delivers. But it's a horrific, mutated baby. It's alive, but a moment later, a mysterious man brutally murders the mother. Now, the scene cuts, taking us 2 years back. We see an ordinary family driving through the desert who, by mistake, stumbles onto a restricted military zone called Sector 16. The very next day, half of that family is found dead. Following this incident, the US Army sent a team to search for the missing people, and now, in the present, they've ordered a surveillance system to be installed in the same location. The real reason for all this remains a heavily guarded secret. A technician named Han is setting up the system, placing dummy figures in an old mine to test it, as the site is supposed to be used as a future meeting room. In the control room, Dr. Wilson is monitoring the whole thing, including the heat sensors. Wilson notices some trouble with the connections, and then, suddenly, a strange movement appears on the screen. Before he can make sense of it, the screen goes completely dark. Han goes to check the power box, only to find the wires are burnt. He just figures it must have been a rat. Meanwhile, Dr. Durkendall, Foster is setting up his equipment on a hill. He radios Wilson, but there's no answer. He calls Han, but Han is already dead in the mine, his intestines ripped out. As Foster turns around, he sees a hideously deformed human eating a snake. Foster tries to speak to him, but the mutant just plays with the zipper on Foster's bag. Then, in a strange, garbled voice, the creature mumbles something, "Run away!" Colonel Redding hears Foster's screams and immediately heads out to find him. As he searches, a fearsome mutant suddenly appears behind him and uses an iron rod like a knife, viciously stabbing him. Then, it throws him off the hill. The story shifts again, this time to a group of soldiers caught in heavy gunfire in a dangerous war zone. Spitter accidentally drops his helmet and runs back to get it, against his team's warnings. Just as he picks it up, a mine explodes, blowing him into the air. Then, the enemy starts taunting them, even swearing at their mothers. Hearing this, Crank completely loses it. He rushes out from cover, attacking the enemy. The team thinks it's madness, but they're forced to follow him. They toss grenades through a doorway, and a loud explosion sends everyone crashing down. When the smoke clears, a small baby doll lands near them, and a woman walks in crying, as if looking for her child. Napoleon apologizes, but then the woman reveals grenades hidden in her clothes and simply says, "Boom." He then informs them they are being sent to Sector 16 to deliver supplies to the scientists. This is a top-secret location, so they must not talk to anyone or wander off. As they drive towards Sector 16, Theme remembers that this is the site of previous Army nuclear weapon tests. Everyone is worried the place might be filled with radiation, but Jeffries assures them they've been told it's safe. During the journey, the soldiers bicker and tease each other, escalating so much that Crank, in a fit of rage, is about to throw someone out of the truck before the others calm him down. Finally, they arrive at the scientists' camp, only to find it completely deserted. They try to make radio contact, but there's no answer. Little do they know, someone is watching them from behind the rocks. Meanwhile, Crank opens a mine door, and a swarm of bats flies out, making him jump back in fear. As the team searches the camp, they find a satellite phone, but it's completely destroyed. Suddenly, a voice comes over the truck's radio. A man is begging for help, saying he's on the hill. But before he can say anything else, the signal cuts out. At that same moment, a flashing mirror signal appears on the hill. Jeffries immediately announces they are going on a rescue mission. Napoleon disagrees, arguing it's wrong to leave without making contact with base. Jeffries, furious, punishes him by making him guard the latrine, standing on one leg. As the team leaves, Jeffries notices Amber flirting with someone, so he orders her to stay behind with Napoleon and keep trying the radio. As Amber focuses on the radio, she hears someone say, "Hello," but then nothing more. As the team heads toward the hill, Theme accidentally falls into a hidden hole. The others quickly pull him out. When they drop a rock in, they realize the hole is either 100 meters deep or 100 years old. Theme has twisted his ankle, so Jeffries sends him back to the camp. On the other side, Napoleon heads to the latrine. Just as he sits down, he hears a strange noise, and suddenly, a hand grabs his leg from inside the toilet. Napoleon screams and stumbles out. Amber doesn't believe him, so she peeks inside, and a whole arm emerges from the feces. Terrified, They slam the door shut. Slowly, a man stumbles out of the latrine, pleading for help. When the soldiers pull him out, they find it's Dr. Wilson. He's trembling, covered in strange cuts. Before dying, he simply whispers, "They're here." Napoleon realizes someone deliberately cut him like that so he would die slowly from infection. Napoleon and Amber clean up and try to contact Jeffries, but the radio still isn't working. Just then, they see smoke rising in the distance. When they go closer, they are shocked. Someone has burned their truck. Amber notices her rifle is missing. She immediately decides she has to find her team and warn them of the danger, but Napoleon decides to stay put. As Amber walks a few steps, she hears a noise, and suddenly, a mutant zombie attacks her from behind. Amber fights desperately, but the mutant is too strong and slams her to the ground. Amber manages to grab a rock and hits him, but the mutant counterattacks with a sharp blade. Amber dodges the blow, and a single gunshot suddenly hits the mutant. Theme had been hiding behind the rocks and shot him. The mutant jumps into a mine and runs away. But then, a mysterious hand emerges from a different mine, grabs Theme's injured ankle, and starts pulling him in. Amber quickly grabs his hand. Napoleon also arrives and tries to save Theme, but it's too late. The rocks crush Theme's leg, twisting his body until he's dragged, shriveled up, and disappears into the small hole. Back on the hills, Delmar is tasked with climbing the high rocks to keep watch. His foot slips during the ascent, but he manages to catch himself and finally reaches the top. Meanwhile, Missy, slightly separated from the group, is looking at a message from her son on her phone. She hears a sound, and someone touches her shoulder. She's startled, but it's just her teammate telling her the group is moving on. As they walk, the team sees a boot on top of a rock. Getting closer, they find Foster's corpse, his wallet jammed into the wound on his head. Everyone is now terrified, realizing some kind of enemy is roaming the area. Spitter tries to contact the camp, but gets no reply. After several tries, they hear Redding's voice, but he only manages to say one line before the radio cuts out. Missy suspects the call they just heard sounded completely different from the previous one. Maybe it was someone else pretending to be Redding. The team is still moving through the hills when they hear strange rustling and movements all around them. A deformed mutant suddenly jumps out of the bushes and attacks Spitter, but only manages to hit his bag. Panicked, Spitter starts shooting immediately. The mutant flees up the hill's peak, but in his terror, Spitter fires wildly and accidentally shoots his own leader, Jeffries. The team rushes to help Jeffries, but he bleeds out and dies right there. Amber and Napoleon arrive and tell them about Theme's death. Everyone is completely shattered. They decide to wrap Jeffries' body in a blanket and carry it down. Delmar sees some movement on the rocks above, like someone is watching, but he tries to ignore it to avoid more trouble. It's time to climb down. Spitter grabs the rope and starts descending. Midway, the rope suddenly snaps and he falls into the deep ravine and is killed. Crank, furious, blames Napoleon for not tying the rope correctly, but Delmar notices something else. The rope was cut. They then see that all their extra ropes are also gone. The team desperately looks for another way down, but finds only dead ends. They hear some more movement and follow the sound. Finding Redding. He's in terrible shape. They try to tend to his wounds, but Redding suddenly starts laughing, then reveals a chilling truth. He says that some people, who were once human, are still alive inside these mines, but the old radioactive testing has turned them into mutants. These mutants kill the men, but they keep the women alive to bear children. The team asks him how they can get out of there, but he doesn't answer. Instead, he shoots himself, taking his own life. A little later, Missy sits quietly next to Amber and shows her a video of her son. A mutant sneaks up behind them. Missy screams instantly, and the men immediately fire on the mutant, killing him on the spot. A while later, Missy goes behind a rock to relieve herself. She doesn't notice that there's a mutant right behind her. Its skin is exactly like the rock, making it invisible. Missy's loud scream alerts the rest of the team, and they rush to her aid. They see the mutant dragging her into the mine. The team immediately follows without wasting a moment. Stump, however, thinks this is too dangerous. He leaves the rest of the team and promises to return quickly with help. The team goes deeper into the mine, unaware that someone is watching them hidden in the darkness. They come to a dead end and find Missy's dropped phone on the ground. Shining their flashlights, they see metal sheets covering an opening. Delmar goes to the metal plates and pushes the rocks down, revealing a tunnel below. When he thinks the way is safe, the others slide down. Meanwhile, Stump is climbing down the hill. He hears voices and the sound of falling rocks, which makes him even more nervous. Still, without a rope, he slowly starts to descend. He sees a tunnel entrance in the wall and calls out to his comrades, but there's no reply. Just as he tries to climb back up, a terrifying mutant emerges from the tunnel and cuts off Stump's hand, causing him to fall to his death. Inside the mine, the team follows a draft of cold air and peeks out of a hole in a wall. They see the bodies of their dead comrades. They realize the mutants cut the rope right here. Going further, they find another tunnel, but it's completely filled with water, obscuring the floor. Amber, grasping the severity of the situation, hides one last bullet just in case things get worse and she needs to end her own life. As they walk, Amber's foot suddenly falls into a pit and she starts to fall. Napoleon tries to grab her, but he falls with her. The water drains out from the bottom of the pit, and Crank and Delmar look down to see if they're all right. They now have no choice but to split into two separate teams and move forward. Hiding nearby is a mutant holding Missy, but when the others arrive, he pulls back out of sight. On the other side, Delmar and Crank try to cross another pit. Crank jumps first, barely managing to grab the opposite ledge. Just as his hand starts to slip, Delmar jumps, lands correctly, and then pulls Crank up. They find a wooden beam and slowly climb down. In an old dusty area below, the mutant throws Missy onto the floor and bizarrely says, "I want a baby from you." This enrages the mutant. He insults her terribly and throws her onto the bed. Missy tries to defend herself, but the mutant licks her blood and says, "It's sweet." He then forcibly opens her mouth and thrusts his tongue inside, but the brave Missy kicks him hard. She tries to escape, but another, bigger and more terrifying mutant comes to the doorway and knocks her down. The first mutant, terrified, runs away. The mutant roars loudly, closes the door, and turns back toward Missy. Meanwhile, Napoleon and Amber find Stump's headband on the ground, and then his severed hand drops right next to them. A mutant is hiding, ready to attack. Napoleon fires immediately, but misses every shot, and his gun runs out of ammo. The mutant lunges at them. Amber grabs its head and pokes out one of its eyes. The mutant tries to strangle her, but Napoleon hits its head with a large rock until it dies. But then, a blind mutant comes into the tunnel. Smelling them, it advances toward the pair. Amber and Napoleon slowly back away, and suddenly, they both fall down a hidden trapdoor. After the fall, they are surprised when a different kind of mutant comes and closes the door of the area, saying, "You people are safe now." Back in the tunnel, as Crank and Delmar enter, the blind mutant fires, hearing their voices. Delmar is wounded, but Crank quickly fires back and kills him. They're both out of ammo now. An odd mutant takes them through a hidden passage to a horrific room. The room is filled with chopped up bodies, dead people's belongings, and human organs. Amber sees Theme's body and screams. Delmar, too, finally succumbs to his wounds. The team drags Delmar's body and moves on. The mutant tries to lead them outside, but the exit door is jammed. Amber wants to go back for Missy, but Crank believes she must be dead. He then finds dynamite behind a wooden door. The mutant warns him not to touch it, but Crank ignores him. As he pulls the dynamite out, the wire pulls free, and there is a massive explosion. Napoleon and Amber are buried under the rubble. When they crawl out, they see that Crank is dead. Meanwhile, the big mutant is tying Missy to the bed. Her screams echo through the tunnels, and Napoleon and Amber rush toward her through a new passage. A mutant attacks them along the way, but they work together and kill it. They see Missy behind a wooden wall. Amber cleverly plays Missy's phone video in a room, luring the mutant away. They quickly go in and rescue Missy, but the mutant comes back. He slams Napoleon down and starts hitting Missy on the ground. Amber fires her last remaining bullet into his head, but he still doesn't die. He starts to choke Amber. Napoleon stops him with an iron rod, and Amber shoves her fingers into the wound on his head, crushing his brain. The mutant falls, but gets up one last time and grabs Missy's foot. Napoleon stops him with an axe and then shoves the gun into his mouth and fires. Finally, the three of them somehow manage to escape, but the government never reveals what happened to these soldiers. They are declared absent without leave, and the truth of Sector 16 continues to be quietly monitored on some radar.